Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Everyone, check your clocks. You all know what time it is. It is time for art. I'm your host, Hershey Petty. What is time for art, you might ask? Well, we are an easy to follow, fun, and engaging art lesson that is taught twice a week right here on our Facebook. And if you don't have time in your busy schedule for time for art, don't worry, you'll find all of our videos, including this one, on our YouTube and our Facebook channels. All you got to do is search for Time for Art subscriptions. And when you do subscribe to Time for Art, you get the latest painting techniques and the coolest tips and tricks as you learn to draw and paint 3 different projects every single month, all taught by a real artist, our teacher, Allison Crary. You're welcome to draw and paint along with her if you can keep up, or you can sit back, relax, and just watch as Allison shows us how to easily approach any drawing or painting. Today is Wednesday, August 3rd, so we're going to be drawing and probably and definitely painting our turtles from your templates. Mine is already here. I don't know if you can see it there. So go ahead and grab your turtle template, grab your art journals, and all of your other supplies that came in your monthly box. The only rule here is that there are no rules, but just say hi to us in the comment section on our Facebook Live. That's the only way we know you're here and the only way we can interact. If you have any questions for the artist, you can put them there and I'll make sure to relay them to her. So while you guys get set up, let's say hello to Allison Crary, our resident artist. Hello, Al.
Hello. Hey, Hershey. How are you?
I am fantastic.
Fantastic. That's such a rave review. I am so excited.
How are you?
Turtles. So tonight we are using this template that came in your kit. So I'm gonna just rip this off. We'll save our paddle borders for a different day.
Okay.
I love a paddleboard.
I like drawing people.
Well, yes. And so maybe we'll, I don't know, maybe we'll do something specifically with those.
That's a skill, you know?
And if you're joining us for the first time tonight, this is one of the templates that we include in our boxes. It's these baby turtles, and I am showing the reference that I took them from. So these are the 2 turtles. And what's kind of tricky about this one is that there is kind of an atmospheric perspective thing going on where the turtle in the back is blurred. I don't know if we're going to do that tonight. We'll see how that goes. And we are going to transfer this image from our template. We do them on vellum so that you can see through them. You can flip them over if you want to. If you want to do 2 at once, you can. And we're going to transfer that to our sketchbooks. And
I saw the reference image that these are baby turtles.
They're baby turtles. Exactly.
So
these are little baby turtles. And to do that, we provide these labels in your boxes and we use them to hinge. And so I'm just going to lightly kind of keep that right there just to keep it in place. We're going to take our graphite paper, sticky, shiny, waxy side down, and tuck it in between our reference, our outline template and our sketchbooks. And with pencils that we send or anything else you might want to use, we are just going to put some pressure and outline all the lines.
Tracing it.
And trace it right into the sketchbooks we send you.
We have, while everyone's tracing, let's say hi to some of the people that are already active in the chats. We've got Melinda and Julie from Crown Point. We got Ruth that's here in Tucson, and Nana is on again.
Fantastic. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, guys.
And if you don't feel like saying hi, that's fine too. We love it when you do, but not a big deal if you don't. And we say this every time, but we'll say it again. It is not especially important to get every line of every detail that we provide here, unless that's important to the drawing that you're doing. That's the other thing. There are no rules. If you just want to watch, if you want to like paint your turtles purple or something along those lines, we're cool with that too. We're going to show you a demonstration to do it a certain way. And then have some fun.
Freedom, yeah.
Artistic freedom. So I'd say time for our subscriptions, as a general rule, we do We meet 8 times a month. We certainly don't need you to be here 8 times a month, but we are going to do something artistic and creative with the materials we send you 8 times a month. And sometimes it looks just like this. It looks like we're going to use one of our templates or do a drawing exercise and work on our sketchbooks. At least twice a month, we do a painting.
Yep.
At least twice a month, we do a very disciplined drawing, and we take you through all that live. Everything's always live. We're not video people. We tried to be. We got into it.
We tried that.
We hated it. We're never doing it again. And we'd rather just mess up in front of you and show you how to fix it.
Yes.
That is definitely part of the fun. And what's kind of unbelievable, if you want to check out, join our subscriber group if it's the first time you're visiting tonight. And if you look, for example, when I talk about messing up, I did not do this turtle's top shelf. So you know, I left it hinged. Right back down. Did half of the front guy. So, you know, put that in. And what's really cool is if you've been with us for a while, like some of our artists have been at this point, you won't believe how cool the work is getting and how strong and confident and creative and different.
Yeah, you know, I was going to say that, especially if you aren't going to do the drawing or the painting exactly the way Allison does it, and you want to take some creative freedom, please, please, please don't forget to post in our subscriber group so we can all see it.
Exactly. We are especially interested in everyone's work, be it a deviation or a exactly the same or whatever you did with it. So here we go. Here are our turtles that I've got on here. And you can kind of do some, if you want to, this is graphite paper, so like erase some of your stray marks, you can do that. And I think what we're going to do, I think these are the colors that we sent you that we're going to be working with this week. And that is burnt umber, cerulean, yellow ochre, and magenta. And let's mix up some of our colors. This is the palette we send you. We send you, these are acrylic palettes, and the reason we send them is these wells keep your paint nice and what's the word? Contained, so it dries less. So you get to use more of the paint that you are mixing up. So I think the first color we're going to mix up is our sand color. And I think I'm going to do, we measure in peas, picture frozen peas.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to do about a pea of yellow ochre and another pea of, maybe a half pea of burnt umber. So I'm going to leave that there for a moment. And then I'm going to skip a couple wells over because sometimes we do. And I think I'm going to do equal parts burnt umber. So maybe a pea or a pea and a half of burnt umber and another pea and a half of cerulean.
Okay.
And if you don't have your water out, the only thing we ask you to provide on your own is water to mix your and wash your brushes with. And so I've got my brush out and I'm going to start by mixing this guy. And yeah, that's, I think, a pretty close color to the shell color. And the reason I had the magenta out is if I wanted this to be a little bit more purple than this kind of brown blue that we're working with here.
You wanted the shell color to be that, the little purple?
A little bit more purple. And so I'm going to try it. A speck, a twinge, a touch of magenta. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
So I want it to sort of be this kind of, yeah, I do like that more. Cool. Rich, kind of purpley neutral. So it's gonna be our shell color. And I'm gonna take a dollop of this and add it to the well next to us. And put in a drop, a smidge, a touch of white. And we do this because sometimes these really concentrated colors, you add a little bit of white to them and you kind of see what's in them. So you get this kind of, this really beautiful neutral gray, kind of taupey purpley gray. So that's that guy.
It's color mixing to the next level when you mix a color and then mix it into another color. It's the best.
We do, and we do so much of it, don't we, Hershey?
Yes, we do.
We do it and do it and do it and then some.
I said you're going to learn some techniques. You learn color mixing, you learn shading, highlighting, you name it.
Yes. And we send you different paint every month, and that way you're always mixing colors, and it's just a really good education in color mixing. And when you know,
remember when you first I went the first kit where we sent brown, and the months yes, everyone had to make their own brown using the color theory and whatnot, and it was like, we have brown.
yeah, and we were really, really generous.
Yep.
Something I threw around at one point. I don't know if anyone's seen The Sound of Music. One of my favorites. I'm going to take a little of this. This was our yellow ochre and burnt umber, and I'm going to add even more yellow ochre to this one because I want it to be a little bit more yellow. That looks good. I'm going to add white to both of these. Drop of white in each one. But it's a little bit with color mixing, like, and I can't sing, but when you know the notes to sing, you can sing most anything. And so we are always mixing colors because when you kind of figure out how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Hershey and I have really cool conversations like the one we had today. Like, remember that turquoise we made? How?
Yes.
And so Hershey, you're going to share with us what you were mixing turquoise for?
I wasn't actually. It was Ruth who needed it.
Oh.
And so she asked me about it, and I was like, if the colors were in front of me, I would have known, but I had to ask you.
Well, if Ruth wants to show us, maybe at some point, what color she was making. We're very, very interested. All right.
Ruth is active in the comments right now. She was saying how much she really loved the popsicles that we did.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. We had so many awesome popsicles in the group.
It's for real.
And if you're interested and you're catching us for the first time tonight, this is just the burnt umber and a little bit of what was on my brush from one of these. So we have like peanut butter, maybe
sand, then peanut butter, maybe.
Peanut butter, and then this is kind of a brown with a little bit of peanut butter in it. Those are colors here. So I think this is enough to get started. And we're going to put some white in the middle. Also one of our go-to moves that you're going to keep drawing from. We send these big, huge whites. It is definitely more than enough white. If we could find a way to send you less, we would, but we can't because we need really good white.
You need it.
This is what it comes in.
You need it.
And so this is what you're going to get. And so generously use white. You need a lot of white. You don't need quite as much white as we send you, but don't worry about that. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm using my smallest brush that we sent this month. And I'm just going to kind of wash in some basic colors that we have going on here. And when we say wash, that means we're going to put a lot of water on our brush and just kind of almost with a watercolor technique, very liberally apply your paints. So I'm going to go with this sand I started, this kind of medium sand.
You're using your medium brush, you said?
I think this is the smallest one we sent.
Okay. Gotcha.
And wash in. And if you look, we don't worry too much about the lines at this stage. And Hershey made the astute observation that it kind of looks sloppy before it doesn't sometimes when we paint.
Yep, and it's supposed to.
And it's supposed to. So keep that in mind. And if you don't feel like painting like this, that's okay too.
The wash is also so like kind of designed so that you can put some color in, but also still see all your lines.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So we can still see all our lines here. And our white can get very opaque. It's called covering white for a reason. It's why we chose it. And so the more white you add and the more you layer that up, the less you'll see your lines. So keep that in mind. But for now, we're just going to kind of put in this kind of sand tone for now. And if you look at even what I've got at this point right now in the reference, and we're going to do this, I'm not going to say exactly, but we're going to try and kind of copy life today. We're doing kind of a life study on these two turtles.
Okay.
This is darker than this is. And I'm just going to acknowledge that because we're going to build up layers of white on top of that. So
which is darker than what? What were you saying?
So the sand in the reference is definitely lighter than the darker tone that I'm putting on here. If you could just compare those.
Oh, yeah.
That's all right though. But I'm just acknowledging that what we're going to do is over time make this lighter.
Okay.
And that's going to come by way of layer. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this kind of, I don't know, maybe mocha latte color.
Mm-hmm.
Where mine's at. and always on coffee. And I'm just going to kind of put in the shadow right here. And I'm kind of putting this underneath my first turtle. And I have a little of this going on down here. And sometimes I like to put it down and have it just begin to adhere to the paper or to the canvas. And then I come back in and blend after it's kind of started merging with the material. Kind of like how sometimes with glue, it's better if it's a little bit tackier to mess with.
This will make sense as the layers grow.
Yes. And so I'm kind of left, I'm going to leave this alone for a moment, and then I'm just going to kind of blur this line with a little bit of water, just like that. Same thing over here. Just this edge with a little bit of water, just like that. Around here like that. And then we're going to kind of leave that alone. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of this white that I have in the middle. And a little bit from here. And a little bit from here. And I'm going to mix these. And this is warmer than this, so this is warmer than this.
You know what? I was looking down when you said it from here and here. Can you tell me where we're
That
at?
is the brown and a touch of peanut butter. The burnt umber and a touch of peanut butter. This was our purpley neutral that we mixed.
Yes.
Took a little bit, a touch of this and a touch of this and a lot of white. And so this is going to look the most opaque of anything we've put down, but still pretty watery. And I'm going to paint the underside of our little baby turtles. Remember, if it goes out of the lines, if it gets not quite how you want it to be, one, you can smudge it with your finger. You do it all the time. It's safe to do with acrylic paints. Not as safe to do with oil paints, even though I've been known to do it. Just, you know. And if you don't like it and something goes wrong, you can always let it dry. And acrylic paint dries very, very, very quickly. And paint over it. No problem there. This way. Here. And I'm just following where I see these light areas in my reference. Along here, along the back of this sea turtle kind of flipper. I don't think that's what they're called. What are the feet called on sea turtles, Hershey?
Ugh, I'm on it.
I'm saying it wrong.
You know, it's an anatomy lesson. I mean, we've learned about horse anatomy.
So many things. Sometimes we know we're getting it wrong and we just say, you know what, we're sorry.
Yeah, we just keep going. Remember,
Keep going through.
Tebow's, that artist Tebow that we learned.
We like
he butchered his name for a
Tebow
whole
was not intuitive though.
No,
I mean, it wasn't. I'm also going to put some of this under here. If you look at that, around this eyeball here. And I think it's going to be hard to get this blurry and to make sense. So I think we're just going to simplify the one on the back, but we're going to keep it kind of crisp.
Mm-hmm.
And underneath here, around here, kind of around the eye. So I think I'm going to kind of give the whole front turtle head kind of a coat.
So we were both right, or we were right on both. You were right on both accounts. A tortoise, depending on what these are, a tortoise has legs and a turtle has flippers.
I'm gonna go with flipper.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I missed this kind of underside down here, or it dried or something. So we're gonna go back in down here. Other thing you have to keep in mind about acrylic paint, we say it all the time. You kind of have to watch the paint dry.
Yeah.
Because it dries differently and it kind of shrinks up sometimes. So you can think you filled in a whole area, and as the water evaporates, it shrinks up. And so Okay, I'm just going to review what we've done so far. We washed in our sand tone, but it's the darker than what this actually is. Not a big deal. I'm just acknowledging that I realized that and that I've done it intentionally. We have washed in kind of our first phase of what the cast shadows would be underneath our baby turtles. We have mixed a more opaque, but you can still see through it, undertone to our two turtles. And that was a little bit of this color and a little bit of this color that we kind of added to create this kind of off-white that's going to go in there. I'm looking at all the places I kind of didn't put it in this back. We've put it along this flipper right here, around the eye underneath, down here, underneath here, over here, underneath and around here, up here, underneath here, up and around here. And there's a little bit that I want to hit on this itty bitty baby turtle tail. Awesome. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is this gray that we mixed, not with gray, but with our burnt umber, equal parts burnt umber and cerulean, and a smidge of magenta that made it a little bit more purple and a little bit less blue. And we're going to take this with a generous amount of water. And I am going to kind of paint this in everywhere I didn't paint that white. And then I might make the exception and bring it, I am going to, into some of this area too. But for now, everywhere else.
The legs included, the flippers, I mean.
Yep, flippers included. And we say it every week, and I'm going to say it again tonight. It is 100% easier when you're going around some of these lines to pull a line than it is to push a line. Pull it. So drop your, slowly glide, make sure there's enough paint on your brush. And the more practice you do with that, the easier time you'll have of it.
It's the truth.
So that's kind of the technique I'm using around here. I'm going to center around here, down here, over here, around here. When we use acrylic paint, one, it dilutes with water. It's safe to use. It transports nicely, but you can also paint anything with it.
You really can.
And so it's a really good foundation for really any kind of paint you may want to do someday. Here. Catching this flipper around here. We also try and work our paintings as a whole. So we're going to kind of bring everything to this phase, and then we're going to kind of bring everything to the next phase. And we're constantly looking at how it looks in relationship to everything else. And that's just the way I paint.
I think that's the best way, honestly. I do.
Well,
it's the only way that I've learned, but it's also the best way.
Yeah. The reason being, you can spend a lot of time on something, and then when you look at it in relationship to everything else, you have to pick it up and move it or erase it. And this way, if everything's coming together at the same time, you're making all your edits collectively too. So
Michelle Poor just joined us. Hi, Michelle.
Welcome, Michelle.
All right.
Coming around this way. Around here. And I'm saving the front baby turtle's head for last, just because I want to make sure that white that we put down is really nice and dry. Before we go back in. All right. Up and around here. Catching the head around here. I go at the center of the eye. And then I'm going to kind of leave these little spots. Not going to worry too much about them yet. And I just want to kind of, where these got like these kind of neck wrinkles, kind of lines in here.
With the darker color?
With this, like this lighter
Yeah.
for now, yes. And then I'm just kind of looking at this and where is it darkest? I'm going to kind of go back in with this color next and kind of second coat it. So on the shell, it's darkest in the foreground and along this ridge right here. Just painted my iPad. That's the first time.
Not mine. I've done that a ton.
Yeah. Some people have this like great respect for electronics and keep them really clean. You know, it's just not my way. So I'm going to get kind of into this ridge down here.
So is that the same color we use just with less water?
Yep. Less water and kind of a second coat. Good question, Hershey Patty. And then there's this kind of ridge across here that I'm going to kind of catch. A little bit of that. And this kind of ridge along here that I'm just going to kind of apply again. A little bit of water or another coat too. This whole front flipper, I'm going to second coat. And as you see, it's getting darker and more opaque. This flipper right here, same thing. We're losing some of our lines in this instance. Big deal, don't worry about it. But in the event that you
still have your reference in it, or if you still have your template, there you go. See, you got to keep it tacky or
you can line it right back up. But if you didn't keep it hinged, no big deal. You just line it. That's why you can see through these. Line it right back up. Same thing over here. Back flipper right here. This one's pretty dark. This one and this kind of shoulder right here. Dark. Over here. Inside this eyeball. Darker. Around here. Along the edge of the shell. Just like that. Right here, over here. Right there. Okay, I'm gonna leave this alone for a minute and let this dry. I lied. I'm gonna catch this ridge right along here. I lie a lot. Like when I say things are done, we all know what that means.
You sign it.
Yeah. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on our sand again. And now that these are in, and I see how dark this shadow is with some of this in there and how not dark enough this is, I'm just going to go back in with, make sure this is on camera, a little bit of our burnt umber, like a pea's worth of our burnt umber, and a pretty generous dollop of this purpley gray mixture.
Okay.
And I'm going to mix these together. And the reason I'm doing that is this is definitely warmer and a different color than our purpley gray. But because our purpley gray mixture is casting some of the shadow, that's in this. The light is casting some of that color in there. So I want some of that. I'm going to rinse out my brush. And time for art, we have a phrase that says sharpen your brush.
Yeah.
Get it nice and wet and you bring it to a point. You kind of squeegee it to a point like this where you sharpen it. And I'm going to dip it in here. I want it to be have a little bit of water on it still. And I'm just going to go along this edge right here. and get this cast shadow looking the way it does. I'm just blurring this edge with a little bit of water, just like that. Back in here, same thing underneath here. Here it's even darker if you look. It's along here. And then I'm just going to take my brush, a little bit of water, but not too much, and just kind of blur this edge right here. And that looks like that. Next,
Really cool.
we're going to take some of our white from the middle. We give ourselves plenty of white in the middle to draw from. And I'm going to take a very large 3 or 4 pea dollop of white. And either mixture, I think I'm going to go with the more yellowy sand mixture because this is the sand that's in the sun. So it's going to catch more of the yellow. And I'm going to mix this in with our white. And it's going to be barely yellow, mostly white.
Okay.
All right, so we got this going on. I'm gonna add a little bit of water to mix this up. Our white is really heavy bodied. And so you have to kind of make it into these sort of slurries to get it useful. Like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna paint this in to all of the areas. It gets very light in the sand. So into here. Over here. And we kind of want what's underneath to kind of show through a little bit because we very intentionally started with those tones. And I'm going to go careful and pull my lines around the turtle faces. If you look, it's lightest right along the edge where.
Can I see your palette again?
Yeah.
Get a look at that color that we're using right now. Okay, that's
It's
very creamy.
Plus a whole lot of white.
Yep.
Dollop of this and 3 or 4 peas of white. Very creamy, almost like a buttercream color.
Yep.
And I'm just going to kind of carefully go along the edge of our turtles right here. And I said it before and I'll say it again. If you want to make these turtles pink and purple, awesome, do it. You want to see it. I would get in trouble in art class when, it didn't really matter and it was like a craft class maybe or something like that.
Yeah.
I'd have these ideas I'd get really excited about and I'd kind of, go rogue. And it wasn't what like the troop leader or whoever really wanted me to do. And it was like, but this doesn't matter.
The troop leader.
Yeah. No specific troop leaders in mind. I'm just giving the example of, kind of nothing, that mattered. And that's not what we're about here. You got a cool idea. This is your time to do that. Yeah. We have what we have planned for tonight, but
part of the plan is we want to see what you have planned.
Yeah. So this is your time to do that. There's all kinds of things where you have to be really in it and follow instructions and things like that. And if that's what you want this to be, we're going to show you something that we think will be really successful if you do it this way, or learn whatever you want to from it. But if you want to do something else, by all
encourage
means. Kind of coming along here. with our turtle babies. And I'm just gonna kind of look at the whole thing, and anywhere I kind of just want to blend out and flatten some of the lumps and bumps I have. That's what I'm interested in doing right now. Do you have to know if you were building up texture and that's something you wanted? Keep it, turn into it. It's not what I'm going for, so I'm gonna kind of flatten some of that out. And then with just some straight up white, I'm gonna kind of put this in a well over here. I'm gonna kind of hit the lightest areas over here with just some white.
The lightest area in the sand?
In the sand with just some white.
Okay.
So it's really, really subtle, but shows some depth. Just painting in some white.
And I think maybe it's harder to see the reference image than it is for you. Like, where do you see the lightest whites in that reference image?
I'm saying along here, up and around here, over here, underneath here. Anywhere I can really see that the sun is hitting the sand is where I'm dropping in
straight up white.
Straight up white over the kind of creamy white we just mixed.
Okay.
Just like this.
So white sandy beach.
The white sandy beach, that's right. All right, I'm gonna wash out my brush pretty well. And the next thing I'm seeing here is that my shadows underneath here didn't dry dark enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and put those in the same color I had before. It was the burnt umber plus our purpley mixture. And I'm just gonna kind of come in and hit this. I was gonna say one more time, but you never know. I need to do it
again. Yeah, you never know.
You never know. That's why you have to kind of watch paint dry.
Ooh, adding straight up white is really, you're right, adding a lot of depth.
Right. Just like that. And then I'm washing out my brush again. I'm going to kind of dry it off. This purpley mixture that we've been using sparingly, but not on its own yet. I'm going to add some more water to it just to kind of get it moving around and where I want it to be. And I'm going to put this in all the dark areas on our baby turtles. So the darkest areas first, because we want to see our light and shadow. Definitely going to be this tail right here. The tail right here. Underneath the shell right here. Underneath the shell back here. Sort of
underneath the shell, but on the flipper.
On the flipper.
Yep.
The folds of the flipper. right here. Just like this. And as usual, if you have any questions, always, always, always
Yeah, let us know.
let
Hit
us
us
know.
those, in the comment section.
I'm going to say along this edge right here. Kind of fill this guy in. Fill in this flipper right here. And that's kind of one of the many reasons we do it live. Hit us up. It's the point. The fold's kind of in the flipper right here. It's kind of the top of the flipper. Moves around like this. Around here. I'm going to blur this edge, but I'm going to give it a second to kind of adhere to the paper. The folds in here. Same thing here. Folds in here.
These turtles look like newborns, don't they?
Don't they? Infant turtles.
Mhm. This is probably their first journey to the sea.
That's, I think, exactly it. I'm gonna take some just water on my brush. I've blotted it a little bit, and I'm just gonna blur this edge right here. Let it dry. It's dark right here. It's dark right here. Both eyeballs are really dark. I'm gonna do both of those at once.
Pull those lines.
Pull those lines. I'm gonna call this the smile. Kind of comes up, around, and down right here. Up, around, and down right here. And especially in this front turtle, if you use the very tip of a sharpened brush, and mine actually is, you can kind of go around this line, this eyeball just like that. And there's these itty bitty spots. That I'm going to go ahead and put in. Oh, Hershey, do you want to announce the template challenge?
Yeah, the template challenges this month. Instead of doing our normal template challenge, we want you to extracurricular art, whatever you feel like drawing, whatever moves you, post it to our subscriber page, and that's your template challenge this month. So if it's the House of Windsor, or if it's
A template.
neon, whatever it is, have fun, do whatever you like. We just want to see any sort of extra art you guys might be doing in your free time.
Yeah, so you can certainly use a template or not use a template. There's plenty to choose from, or an old template. But yeah, it's a wild card month. All right, so I'm letting that one kind of dry. I've put in some of these strokes. Just like that. This edge is kind of dark with this tone. I'm gonna kind of get that in there now. Just like that. Same thing over here. The kind of lines on here, if you squint, are dark. There's this kind of ridge that's kind of light in there that I'm not going to do because it's just too small. So I'm going to make all of the lines on the turtle this dark color. So again, I'm working on the very tippy tip
Of a sharpened brush.
A sharpened brush. And I'm just going to kind of follow these lines. Around on the shell.
This is precision work here.
Just like this. And again, we're going to go back in here. So if you don't like one of your lines, my suggestion is to let it dry.
He is.
Always. Don't worry about it. Let it dry, go back in. Or smudge it with your finger. It's another good one. We do plenty of that here.
It's true.
Just like that. Same thing back here. I'm just going to follow some of these lines too that I had. Starting in September, we got all new stuff going on. It's super cool.
And you've been busy, yeah?
I've been busy. Come around this way.
I've never used such a tippy part of this brush before.
And how's it going for you?
Really great.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
This way. Sometimes the more calligraphic, like they're almost the easiest.
You've got so little surface area of the brush on the page, it's hard to make too big of a mess, you know?
Exactly. It throws people off kind of how simple that can be. So I'm just catching these lines in there just like that. On this one in the front, I'm going to jump back over here. This edge has this kind of dark line along it. And so does kind of the top a little bit. I'm doing this kind of with a light hand, so it's not too outlined. But both tops of these have a little bit of darkness along the edge. Go along here.
The ratio of the size of the head to the body tells me it's a baby, which also tells me that as they get bigger, their shells keep growing, but their head's not so fast.
It's what it appears, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to kind of look at both of these. I've got them mostly in now. And because you have to watch paint dry and it dries inconsistently, I'm going to go back in and hit all the areas that need to be especially dark. So this tail, I want to be very dark. I'm going to second coat that underneath the shell right here. I want that to be especially dark. I'm going to second coat that. These areas on the flipper. The interior of this eye. The smile, as I'm calling it, this kind of swoosh right there. These lines in here. Second coat with this tone. The inside of this eyeball right here. just like that. These kind of spots that are so cute. Make sure I get those and that they look like spots. Along here. The dark parts of this fin I'm gonna really hit. Flipper, not fin. I think I've said fin a lot though. I think I've gotten it wrong.
I think you said flipper. I think.
Said flipper, good. And we are no stranger to getting it wrong over and over and over again.
Truth.
Mr. Tebow, rest in peace. Oh, here. Underneath here. And then, because there's some overlap to our shadows and this is still warmer, this color, and it's especially apparent when we see everything in place, is definitely at the core of our shadows. So good thing I didn't say for the last time. I'm going to come in with this color right at the shadow's core and paint that in.
Ruth just shared something interesting. She said on Facebook one time she saw the cut in half skeleton of a turtle.
Oh my
and
goodness.
it was super shocking about how empty the shell is on the inside. But then she thought kind of makes sense because all four of the legs or flippers and the head all fit in there. So
it's like one of those dogs that you get wet and there's nothing there.
yeah. Right.
Speaking of Hershey, would you like to update us on your foster baby?
Yes, so I got a foster baby. Was that 2 nights ago now? Yeah. His name's Roscoe. He is the cutest guy ever. This program is called Safety Net, and it's for people who don't want to surrender their dog, but their situation has changed and they're unable to keep their animal for whatever reason. So they are just leaving it with the animal shelter for on loan. So I have him for 30 days while his family figures out how to figure out their situation. And then after 30 days, they're going to reconnect. They're in contact with his family every week, but I have him for 30 days and then we'll reevaluate in 30 days if he is ready to go home or if he stays with me.
I love that program. So it really brings a dog to safety and it's not as final because I think a lot of people don't do the right thing sometimes in those situations. And it gives you like we got you for now.
You know, and he's used to having a family. He's used to having a home. So the shelter was really stressful on him.
I bet.
Not that it isn't on other dogs, but so I'm really happy.
I love it. And Marvin's a foster baby, or not a foster baby. Marvin's a shelter baby. And the absolute best.
It's a great practice.
Can't do enough
for
shelters.
And this place is a state-of-art facility, but it really is nice there, but it's just not the same.
Not the same. And it shouldn't be.
You're right.
It can't be. All right. So I'm just going to kind of review and take a look at my painting. We've done 2 infant baby turtles. We've got in all of our base tones, all of our darks. We've put in some sand tones. And last but not least, I'm just going to dip into our straight up white. And I'm just going to do some highlights. So I'm going to highlight.
The chat's like Ruth is asking, Roscoe will be 2 in October, and he is a pit bull. I think he's a red pit bull because he's got this beautiful like auburn color.
He's very handsome. I met him earlier via.
Yeah, I can't post any photos of him on Facebook or take him to any dog parks because of the delicate nature of his situation. So,
yes.
But he's handsome.
Very handsome boy. So I'm doing just a little bit of white, watery white along these parts of the shell just to catch a little of the highlight. I'm doing some watery white along this part of the shell. These kind of scallops along here. And so we like to do little sketchbook paintings like this, where we aren't spending a whole lot of time figuring out how to draw, and we're just doing kind of a quick study. And in this case, kind of realistic painting.
Yeah.
Other times, other times we're just gonna, like the popsicles, we just kind of drew from, or like we painted kind of from memory and what kind of felt like what was gonna be right. And then other times we spend a lot of time figuring out how to draw. So all good uses of our time as we kind of practice.
That lesson we had where we did shapes and shadows, I just thought that was the best.
Yeah, that was a good one. We'll do it again. Different shapes, different shadows. So yeah.
I redid that one over.
Really?
Yeah, just because I think it's such great practice.
Oh, it was a fun one. That was a Cheryl's request, I believe. Little highlight here. Little highlight along here. And if you just like to watch us, we're kind of always demonstrating.
Yeah.
So always something to see. Just like this. Same thing here.
You know, I'm not going to say I haven't learned anything over the last few months, but I'm an amateur just like anybody else out there too. So like I do it along with Allison, and at the end I show you what I have. So you get to see what Allison completed in the hour. You see what I completed in the hour, and kind of measure yourself there if you like.
And Hershey's gotten quite skilled.
I think so too. I call myself an artist now.
As well he should. And when Hershey agreed to do this with me, I said, I don't know if you have any interest in becoming an artist, but if you give this,
you did
a little bit of, TLC, you won't believe how good you get. And I don't know if he believed me.
I did, because people said that before, like when I was like, oh, I can't draw, they're like, oh, come on, you can draw. And I'm like, no, I really, truly cannot. And you kind of were, I kind of classified what you said in that same category. You said, listen, if you just go do the classes, I promise you, you're going to get really good at art. And I was like, okay, Al. And, but sure enough.
All right. And I'm going to get a little bit of highlight on top of this guy's head. And I am, at least for the first time, going to call this done. It takes a few tries sometimes with me. But yeah, look at our little baby turtles that we didn't have there before.
Ooh,
go ahead and hold this up. We get a little bit of glare.
Those look great. Mine ended up a little bit more purple. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, they're beautiful.
But I'm going to get there for sure.
Or yours run a little more purple. Awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. I don't always sign my sketchbook, but I feel like it tonight. So
nice.
So here we go. And we're almost right at the 8 o'clock hour. We try and keep our sketchbook nights at or under an hour. Our painting nights can go hour and a half, sometimes in between. And if you want to spend as much time or as little time as you want, these are available on Facebook, available on YouTube immediately after. And we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. Next week, we're going to draw. Do we say we're going to start with the Protea?
Yes.
We're going to start with the Protea. We're going to draw the Protea next week. And then we're going to paint the Protea. And then we're going to draw these beach scene the following Monday. And then we're going to paint the beach scene the following Wednesday. And then it's creative painting and some of this stuff and template challenges. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Allison. And bye.
Right. Take care, everybody. Bye. See you next week.